All right, before we get started, let me give a quick caveat. This account was created to provide information on how current immigration laws apply to certain factual scenarios. There are many people, I suspect, that are worried about their immigration situation but aren't sure if they should speak to an immigration attorney. Keep in mind, and I cannot stress this enough, that immigration law is extremely fact-specific. So even if you think that one of the scenarios I go over here is nearly identical to your situation, you still need to speak to an immigration attorney for a proper assessment. Even the smallest factual difference can change the analysis completely, so keep that in mind. That said, this is not legal advice. I'm merely hoping to educate some people so that they can get a better understanding of how the immigration laws work. Also, immigration laws change and have changed over the last few months, and they probably will change in the months to come. So what might be accurate and current as of recording could change in the weeks to come or even tomorrow. Okay, so this woman first came to the United States from Mexico in 1991 via the San Ysidro-Tijuana border. She was 20 years old at that time. She was caught at the border and tried again the next day and successfully snuck into the U.S. She left the United States in 1995 when her father in Mexico passed away. She re-entered the U.S. illegally through the desert a few weeks later and was not caught. She has lived in the United States ever since. She has worked illegally in the U.S. for the majority of her time here. She has no arrests or criminal convictions of any kind. In 1998, she married her husband, and they had 3 children who were all born in the United States. The husband does not have any legal immigration status either. The first child was born in 2001, second in 2003, and the third in 2007. The third child, now 17 years old, is on the autism spectrum and is likely to require assistance from the parents well into adulthood. The family wants to know if they can legalize the parents' immigration status. Okay, so first off, they have a child that's a U.S. citizen that's over 21 years of age. Now, a lot of people think that just because they have a U.S. citizen child that's over 21, they can legalize their status. That is not accurate, okay? In this case, because they entered the United States illegally, having a child that's 21 is not really going to help them get green cards, okay? Had they entered legally, okay, back in 1995 and then stayed illegally for many years, then we would be able to do something, but that's not the case here. So, what options do they have? They don't have a lot of options in terms of applying for something affirmatively, okay? But if they were to ever get picked up by ICE or CBP or anything like that and put into immigration court, they would have options, okay? So something called cancellation of removal would be available to them. For cancellation of removal, you need to show that you have been in the country for at least 10 years, that you have no major criminal record to speak of, and that if you were to get deported, it would cause extraordinary and extremely unusual hardship to your U.S. citizen children, spouse, or parents, all right? In this case, one of their kids has autism, and it's severe autism. So the child's likely to need their assistance and support for many years to come. That should be enough to prove extraordinary and extremely unusual hardship. We would want to get things from the doctor, assessments, those kinds of things to prove just how severe the autism is on the spectrum. And we're going to have to go to court. We're going to have a trial. We're going to have to prove all these things in front of a judge. So what constitutes extraordinary and extremely unusual hardship? That's really going to depend on the judge. Okay, for some judges, having 3 U.S. citizen children and living in the United States for over 25 years might be enough, but definitely not for every judge. Okay, so that's where the 17-year-old that has autism is going to play a big part in the trial. Okay, now what to expect? It really depends on which court you're in. Okay, so in Southern California where I practice, we have the Los Angeles court, the San Diego court, and the Orange County court. The Los Angeles court is very, very backed up. It's one of the busiest courts in the country. So your case might take, in this situation, several years to get resolved. In Orange County, that court just opened a few years ago. It's not quite as backed up as Los Angeles. So depending on the judge, we could get a result within a couple years, potentially. But those are the timelines you need to have in mind, is 2 to 4 years, something along those lines, most likely, okay? Another question, she was caught at the border in 1991, okay? And how does that affect her case? Well, it really won't, most likely, okay? So before April 1997, if someone was caught at the border and turned away, there were really no repercussions, okay? They would generally catch the person, put them back in Tijuana, and sometimes they'd even say, okay, we'll see you tomorrow, because they knew that people were just gonna keep trying until they came in. In April of 1997, they changed the laws and they made it so that CBP officers that caught someone at the border could actually issue deportation orders, okay? So that was a big change. Before that, in order to get a deportation order, CBP would have to put them in immigration court and an immigration judge would have to order them deported. In April 1997, they changed that. Now CBP officers could catch a person, give them an expedited removal order, and now if they came back in after that, that changed everything, okay? In this case, we know that she was caught in 1991, and in 1995 was the last time she entered. Unless she used some kind of a fake passport or other documentation, she most likely does not have any repercussions from getting caught in 1991, all right? So none of that should really hurt her chances in immigration court. So hopefully that outlines a little bit of how the immigration laws would affect this type of a fact pattern. Again, if that sounds familiar to you, if this is what your parents are going through or a loved one has a similar fact pattern, it's probably in your best interest to reach out to an immigration attorney, talk to them about exactly what's going on with your family, and see if there are any options available to you, or if they can represent you in immigration court should ICE ever come and issue a notice to appear in court. Good luck.